Never wash your hair outside at night, or something will come to wash it for you. That was what the elders of the village always said, but most people laughed at the warning. After all, what harm could water, soap, and a little moonlight do? In the village of Maruwa, an old woman named Mama Sewa told this tale every evening. She said the night was not meant for humans to wash their hair, because the darkness had its own eyes and ears. The spirits walk when the moon rises, she whispered, and they love the smell of wet hair. But one girl, a proud and stubborn teenager named Ada, did not believe her. Ada thought Mama Sewa only wanted to scare children. She believed ghosts were just stories for the weak. She even laughed at her friends who avoided the well at night. One afternoon, Ada stood near the clay well and said loudly, "Tomorrow I will wash my hair outside at night. Let me see if your spirits will dare touch me." Then she laughed. Her friends gasped. The wind blew cold across the yard, and Mama Sewa, who was listening nearby, shook her head. "Child," she said in a trembling voice, "you are calling death with your tongue." Ada only smiled, her eyes bright with pride. But far away in the shadows of the trees, something stirred. The next evening, the moon rose full and heavy, spilling silver light across the village of Marwa. Children ran into their huts, and mothers closed their doors early. The air felt thick, as if the night itself was waiting. Ada stood in her mother's yard, with a calabash of water balanced on her hip. Her friends gathered at a distance, whispering nervously. They wanted to stop her, but none dared to speak loudly. The words of Mama Siwa still hung in their minds. The spirits loved the smell of wet hair. "Ada, don't do it," her best friend Nene begged. "You can prove your courage in another way. What if something happens?" Ada tossed her hair over her shoulder and laughed. "Do you see any spirits here? Do you see anything in the night except the moon and the trees?" She dipped her hands into the calabash and poured cool water over her head. The water ran down her face, shining in the moonlight. She tilted her head back and began to hum softly. At first, all seemed normal. The frogs croaked by the river, and the wind rustled the palm leaves. But then, the night grew too quiet. The frogs stopped, the trees stilled, the very air seemed to hold its breath. Nenny grabbed and held another girl's hand and whispered, "It's too silent. Something is wrong." Ada bent to wash her hair again, soap lathering in her hands. But this time, when the water splashed against the ground, a strange ripple spread across the soil as if she had poured it into a hidden pond. From the dark corner near the trees, a low, dragging sound began, like wet cloth sliding against stone. The girl screamed and ran. Ada lifted her head quickly, soap burning her eyes, but she refused to show fear. "Who is there?" she shouted into the night. No voice answered, only the sound of something moving closer, step by step. Though Ada could not see it, a pale hand had already crept from the shadows, reaching for her dripping hair. Ada's laughter froze in her throat when she felt it. Fingers, cold and slimy, brushing against the back of her wet hair. She spun around quickly, but there was nothing. Only the quiet night, the moon, and her half-empty calabash. Her heart thumped hard in her chest. "Nene!" she called, but her friends were gone, their bare feet already pounding down the dusty path toward their huts. She was alone. Ada tried to shake it off. "It's just my imagination," she whispered to herself. She dipped her hands into the calabash again and poured the last of the water over her head. But as soon as the water trickled down her neck, the feeling returned, this time stronger. Fingers slid through her braids, tugging gently, as if someone unseen was combing her hair. Ada's knees went weak. She dropped the calabash, and it rolled into the dust. "Who is touching me?" she cried. Her voice shook, but she forced herself to stand tall. The air turned colder. The smell of damp earth filled the yard. Then from behind her came a whisper, so soft it barely touched her ears. "Your hair is mine." Ada screamed and bolted toward the hut, soap still clinging to her face. She stumbled, falling hard against the wooden door, but she pushed her way inside. Her mother looked up from the cooking fire, startled. "Ada, what is it?" Ada's chest heaved as she gasped for air. She tried to speak, but only managed to say, "Someone touched my hair." Her mother's eyes widened. She rushed to the door and slammed it shut, closing it tight. "I told you never to wash your hair outside at night," she snapped, fear quivering in her voice. "You don't know what you have called for yourself." Outside, the dragging sound began again, circling the hut. Something scratched along the wooden walls, moving slowly, patiently, as if it had all night to wait. Ada pressed her back against the wall, her wet hair clinging to her skin, her teeth chattering though the room was hot. For the first time, her pride was gone. Now she was only afraid. And from outside, the whisper came again, longer and hungrier. "Your hair is mine." The scratching outside the hut grew louder. Ada clutched her mother's wrapper tightly. Her mother whispered prayers under her breath. The fire cracked and hissed as if it was afraid. Suddenly, Ada felt a sharp pain on her scalp. She screamed and grabbed her head. When she pulled her hand away, there was a single long black hair wrapped around her fingers. Only it wasn't hers. It was slick, wet, and cold, like a snake. Her mother gasped when she saw it. "It has marked you," she said, her voice breaking. "It knows your scent now." The sound outside stopped. The hut became quiet again. Too quiet. Ada's mother reached for a calabash filled with palm oil and smeared some on Ada's forehead. "This will protect you," she whispered, though she didn't look sure. "You must not go near the well. You must not step outside until sunrise." Ada sat by the fire shaking. She thought about Mama Sewa's warning, about the pale hands she had almost seen. Her wet braids clung to her neck like cold ropes. She wanted to cut them off, but she was too scared to move. Her mother kept whispering, "Spirits love wet hair. Spirits love wet hair." But outside, something breathed against the door, slow and heavy, as if smelling for her. Sometime past midnight, Ada woke up to a sound, a gentle knock at the door. Her mother was asleep on the mat beside her. The fire had burned down to glowing coals and the hut was filled with shadows. "Ada," a voice whispered from outside. "Ada, open the door. It is me." Nene Ada's heart pounded. The voice sounded like Nene's, but it was soft, too soft, like a voice underwater. She shook her mother gently. "Mama, Nene is here," she whispered. Her mother's eyes snapped open. "Do not open that door," she hissed. "That is not your friend." "Ada," the voice said again, dragging the syllables. "Your hair. You forgot to rinse it well. Let me finish it for you." Ada's breath caught in her throat. She crawled back toward her mother. The knocking stopped. Then the sound of dripping water began outside, like someone wringing wet clothes. The smell of damp earth filled the room again. Her mother began praying louder, and then the voice changed. It was no longer Nene's. It was something else, deeper and older. "Open the door, child. I am not going away." Before dawn, Ada's mother took her to Mama Sewa's hut. They went through the back path, avoiding the main road. Ada's hair was still damp, and every time the wind blew, she thought she felt fingers combing through them. She kept glancing behind her, but nothing was there. Mama Sewa was waiting outside, as if she already knew. Her old eyes were dark and worried. "You brought the spirit with you," she said without greeting them. "It has your scent now. It will not stop until it owns your hair." Ada trembled. "What do I do?" "I don't want it to take my hair," she cried. Mama Sewa handed Ada a small clay bowl filled with herbs and ashes. "Wash your hair with this before sunrise," she said, "and you must not let a single strand touch the ground, or it will follow it." Ada's hands shook as she dipped her fingers into the mixture. The cold herbs smelled bitter. She poured it over her head, but as soon as she did, a pale lock of hair slid down, long, wet, and shining in the dawn light. The old woman gasped. "It has already found you," she whispered. "It's waiting just outside." Ada dropped the bowl. The hair on the floor began to move, slowly dragging itself on the floor as if a headless thing was moving it. That night, Mama Sewa lit a fire outside her hut and drew a circle of salt around Ada. "Do not move us," she warned. "The spirit will come. It will speak. Do not answer it." Ada sat in the circle, her knees pulled to her chest. Her wet hair, now stiff with herbs, hung over her face. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of the river. In the distance, a low moan began, like the sound of someone crying. Then it appeared, not fully but in pieces. Pale hands crept from the darkness first, then strands of long black hair that slithered like snakes. A face formed behind the hands, but it was not a full face, just eyes and teeth floating in the hair. "Child," it whispered, its voice like water trickling over stones. "Your hair is mine. Give it to me and I will let you live." Ada squeezed her eyes shut, remembering Mama Sewa's warning not to answer. The spirit circled the salt, its hands pressing against the invisible barrier. "Give it to me," it hissed. "I am patient." Ada did not speak, but she could feel the fingers brushing her hair, even through the circle. By the next morning, Ada was weak from fear and lack of sleep. Mama Sewa knelt beside her and said, "There is only one way. You must cut your hair before sunset. If it has nothing to hold, it cannot take you." Ada hesitated. Her hair had always been her pride. Thick, long, everyone admired it. But she nodded. "I don't care. Just make it stop." Mama Sewa's old hands trembled as she pulled out a sharp knife. Ada sat on a low stool, tears running down her cheeks. "Do not cry," Mama Sewa whispered. "Your life is worth more than hair." But as soon as Mama Sewa took the first cut, the wind roared. The ground trembled. A scream, high and thin, rose from the trees. The spirit knew what they were doing. Hurry, Ada said. Mama Sewa hacked at the hair until Ada's head was bare. The cut hair was thrown into the fire. It sizzled and smoked, but from the smoke came a pale hand, reaching out, trying to grab it. Ada screamed. Mama Sewa threw salt into the fire, and the hand vanished with a hiss. That night, Ada thought it was over. Her head was bare. The spirit had nothing left to take. But when she lay down to sleep, she heard it again, the dripping sound, and then a whisper. Your hair, it was never yours. Come to the river, child. Come. Ada clutched her blanket. She tried to wake her mother, but her mother slept like stone. Outside the window, she saw something moving. Long black hair stretching across the ground like roots, leading toward the river. Her feet moved before she could stop them. She walked barefoot out of the hut, following the trail. The night was cold and damp. The moon hung low and the trees seemed to lean closer. The hair led her to the water's edge. The river was black, shining like oil. Step in, the voice said. What you took, you must return. Ada shook her head. I have nothing, she said. But the water rippled and pale hands rose from it, reaching for her. Ada screamed for help, but no sound came out. The hands grabbed her, pulling her toward the water. Her bare scalp burned as if 1,000 combs were scraping it. She struggled, but the hair from the river wrapped around her arms and legs, cold and heavy. Suddenly, Mama Sewa appeared on the riverbank with a gourd of palm oil and a burning torch. Let her go, she shouted, throwing the oil into the water. Flames burst across the surface, lighting up the night. The spirit shrieked, its hair writhing like snakes on fire. Ada pulled free and crawled back onto the shore, coughing. Mama Sewa grabbed her and drew another circle of salt. The spirit thrashed in the burning river, its whisper turning to a scream. Child, you are mine forever. But as the sun rose over the hills, the spirit's hair turned to ash and sank. The water calmed. The whisper faded. Ada lay trembling in Mama Sewa's arms, her head bare, but her life spared. She had learned the hard way that some warnings are not stories. From that day on, no one in Marua ever washed their hair outside at night again. If you were Ada, would you have believed Mama Sewa's warning, or tried to prove your courage like Ada did? Do you think the spirit would have stopped if Ada had cut her hair earlier, or was it already too late? What other everyday actions do you think could secretly attract spirits at night in a village like Marua? Respect old warnings, even if you don't understand them. Traditions and elders' advice often carry truths born from experience and danger. Curiosity and pride can lead you into things you cannot see or control. Sometimes it's not bravery to ignore wisdom, it's foolishness. If you enjoy the story, please like, comment, subscribe for more captivating stories. Thank you all.